Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Truth, Lies, and the Amazing Benefits of Martial Arts. Today's guest is someone who really doesn't need any introduction, but I'm going to do it anyway. His name is Chris Kent, and he is a very adamant and prominent JKD instructor, and that is Jeet Kune Do. And so I'm going to let him take it away. And Chris, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got started in martial arts?
Oh, so we're doing the whole background thing?
Yeah. Like, where are you originally
You
from?
didn't tell me that.
Yeah.
Originally, I'm from London.
Okay.
Okay, martial art background. Started when I was like 13 years old. Actually, I got interested in martial art from watching The Green Hornet.
Okay, right.
With Kato, right?
Yep.
My parents did not have the money for me to train in martial arts, so I would save my allowance or make money, and then I'd buy books. And then I'd just stand in my bedroom and try and practice what was ever in the books or the magazines. I'd buy Black Belt magazine. My martial art training began at Santa Monica YMCA because they had a really good judo jiu-jitsu program. And at the time it was like, whatever, $20 a year to be a member of the gym.
Okay.
Or the Y. So I started in that, and I was in that for a couple of years. And from there I went and did some Shotokan for a short while until I got a knee injury from soccer.
Okay.
And I was out of that. And so then eventually I got into 5 Animal Kung Fu system in I went back to England. I went back to England a couple of times back and forth. I went back to England. I came back to the States.
Okay.
I began training at Ark Wai Wong's 5 Animal Kung Fu system in Chinatown.
Fu animal systems, were they pretty popular at that time, or was it something you actually had to look for?
No, it was popular in Chinatown.
Okay.
Because Ark Wai Wong was one of the Shaolin priests in the original Kung Fu television series.
Okay.
And like at the opening.
The one with Dave Carradine.
Yeah. The one at the beginning where the guys are doing all the Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
There's an old guy and he's throwing a shuriken at the target. That was Ark Wong.
How about that?
So began training downtown LA.
Okay.
Several times a week with that.
So you were basically just inspired to do martial arts. It wasn't anything that necessarily drove you to do it, but you were just very inspired by.
Yeah, I don't know, something about it.
Something about it intrigued you.
Something about it intrigued me.
Okay.
Then I read Bruce's article. I read 2 articles: "Liberate Yourself from Classical Karate" by Bruce Lee,
Mm-hmm.
and then Dan Inosanto did an article, "Jeet Kune Do is Fast, Powerful, and Deceptive,"
Okay.
because I bought the magazines. And I don't know, there was just something about it that hit a resonant chord with me.
Okay.
So I thought, wow, this is really cool. I'd like to study this.
Okay.
So then I went about trying to find out how to study it. And, I found out Black Belt magazine was in Culver City, and I used to drive out there to buy magazines. So I called them up, and they told me, well, Bruce is in Hong Kong doing movies. The only person teaching Jeet Kune Do is Dan Inosanto, in his backyard in Carson, California. So I said, well, can I have his phone number? And they said, no, but it's in the phone book. So I looked it up, found him, called him. Didn't get to talk to him for the first month, at least. I would just get his wife, because he was a PE teacher at the same time. So I would just talk to his wife, and then she said, we'll call back in a week. And 1 week to the day, I'd call back,
I see. And that just kept going until finally you started.
Yeah. Finally, I got to talk to him, and he kept saying, well, I only have 12 people, or I only teach 12 people, whatever months.
Right.
And this is Dan's nature. And he goes, well, just call me next week.
Wow.
So, 1 week to the day, I would call. And that went on for probably another month. And then, I don't know, maybe I wore him down, because right in the middle of the conversation, he just stopped and he said, well, I tell you what, why don't you come down and see me tomorrow night for class?
Right.
So, I drove from Santa Monica down. It's like 25 miles.
Yeah.
Drove down after work to see him while the class was going on. Sat on a bench with him for 2 hours.
Right.
Where he just asked a lot of questions about my background, what I was looking for, things of that nature while the class was going on, and I got to see the class. And then at the end of the conversation, he just said, "Okay, you want to start working out?" And I said, "Yeah." And then, like I've written and talked about so many times, I drove home. I was like over the friggin' moon.
I bet.
Like, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went and bought the equipment. Shin guards, baseball shin guards, boxing gloves, and then I started training in the backyard. Yeah.
Wow. So at that time, from what I understand, the use of equipment in training wasn't what a lot of people were doing necessarily. Is that still
Yeah, the majority of training at the time was forms.
okay?
And the 1-2-step sparring. Which
Yeah,
is
yeah, like the
pre-formulated
mhm.
routines. About the only equipment might have been like the makiwari.
Okay.
The pounding of the board.
Right.
But nobody was using focus gloves. Nobody was using kicking shields.
Right.
And then again, gloving up, headgear. Sometimes headgear. I actually never wore headgears when we first started
Okay.
training. But mouthpiece, shin guards,
Right.
groin protector, and then sparring. So,
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear that because as we travel the United States and we watch a lot of these instructors in schools and these programs, we see this equipment being used, and a lot of people don't know that a lot of that stuff had started with your groups with the JKD and all that, and they don't even know. I mean, besides the boxing profession, nobody else
Right.
was really doing that.
No.
And so it really, I would say, JKD really kind of started a lot of that, or at least the era that the guys that were part of that during that time started that, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. Yeah, I mean, again, you have to remember because you go in schools now, everybody's on mats.
Yes.
No, we train on a concrete floor, tennis
Okay.
shoes.
Right.
The whole 9 yards.
Right.
And so it was that because it was geared, it was about fighting, self-defense.
I see.
Functionality and
Right.
things of that nature.
Now you say functionality because I'm glad you brought that up because one of the things I want to talk about that I've talked to a lot of people about in my interviews is that there's a lot of truths that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. And when I say a lot of people, I'm not talking about the martial arts community. I'm talking about the everyday person that doesn't do martial arts. And I mean everybody from above average to below average. I'm talking about everybody. But people that are actually genuinely interested in martial arts, but there's a lot of things they don't know, a lot of the truths that they don't know. And I feel like if they did know them, that it would inspire them to do martial arts, right? And everything from, JKD to Kali to Jiu-Jitsu, whatever. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about now. And one of those truths that I just discovered was that, less than 3% of the population, current statistics say that less than 3% of the population does martial arts. And if you kind of look at it like there's 321 or so million people in the U.S. and less than, I think it's about 11 or 12 million of those people actively do martial arts. And now that's men, women, children combined.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm talking to you, I'm wanting to ask because, you started martial arts somewhere in I want to say in the 60s or 70s, somewhere in that ballpark. And so you're here today. It's 2019, so you've seen a lot of changes in the martial arts world and the world around you. And so would you have any comments as to maybe why the participation percentages are so low? Or, in your opinion, are they high? I mean, everybody's different.
No, I don't know. I wouldn't know whether you classify them as high or low.
Right.
I think that probably why it's on the lower scale, again, is simply because of the way it's been brought out.
Okay.
From back then, with the traditionalism, the classicalism,
Right.
To the modern day, it's like
Right.
they don't give a shit. You used to have the gi, the
Mhm.
barefoot, the gi, and the belt was the uniform de rigueur, right?
Okay.
Or the kung fu outfit. Well, that has been replaced by the new uniform, our sprawl shorts, a rash guard shirt, and a shaved head and tats, whatever.
Right, exactly. So
They
the
just
optics have
replaced
definitely
it.
changed. Yeah.
The public is definitely much more educated about it,
Okay.
versus back then. That education has continued. But I still see that most people don't have much of a perception of what it's really about or what it's supposed to be about.
And would you say that that's primarily because a lot of the martial arts industry is not necessarily trying to push what it's about? They're really just pushing another agenda? Or, I mean, I guess let me put it this way. Like, the martial arts industry is made up of all these businesses that teach martial arts, or even
Right.
backyard groups or whatever, right?
Right.
And so I guess the question is, would you say that for the most part now, and I'm including everybody in this, everybody from private groups and in the garage all the way up to like a huge business or studio, that for the most part, the martial arts community or industry, they're not really that concerned about pushing martial arts for everyone. They're really just doing it for the ones that they can reach.
Yeah, yeah. You hit the nail on the head when you said it is an industry.
Okay.
It is an industry, and it is geared based upon membership and turnover.
Okay.
In the same way that the fitness industry is built on gym memberships and turnovers.
Right.
And that the average person is going to go for a period of time, and then they're going to just stop. Right. In the fitness industry, obviously, most times they keep paying. Well, and in the martial arts now, because they do the auto payments. So it's an industry, so it is built around industry practices.
Okay. Which is not necessarily the same as martial art practices.
No, I mean, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because that's the business side of it.
Okay.
And it also fits in well with the public's version.
Oh, okay. See, this is exactly
Yeah.
where I was trying to drive at. Yeah.
It addresses their psyche or whatever, their need.
So you would definitely agree that that the martial arts industry has definitely spent a lot of time at just appeasing the public to maintain business and trying to make sure that they get what they want rather than, what should be delivered.
Oh yeah, very, very much so.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, like I said, it's not to me like, raise the tide so all ships are lifted just along the friggin' bridge.
Yeah.
That type of attitude.
Right.
There's two things. It's the dumbing down of the art and the numbing up of the public towards it.
That's a really good way that you put that. That's exactly right. I definitely see that.
Because but that occurs not just in the martial art world. So there's that crossover.
Right.
It's not about taking these people and bringing them up. It's about dumbing it down. But they do it under the guise, and not everybody, but they do it under the guise of, everybody has to feel successful, and that's true to a degree.
It's that appeasement,
That's what I said. You appeal to their psyche,
right?
That you're not going to make mistakes. Everything's going to be fine,
right?
I've always felt that with regards to martial arts, you have the physical component and the mental component, and then the spiritual component, which I relate to self. I'm not talking about religion.
Right.
If you do something, you find, and a musician can do it, whatever, but you find a certain spirituality that relates to yourself in it. But for me, the physical is the nexus to the spiritual, not the other way around.
I agree.
And you arrive at that spiritual position by going through the physical door.
I see. Yeah.
And not the other way around.
Okay.
They kind of can go together, but that's what takes you there.
Okay.
So it gets back to when we were talking about the two questions that I grew my life in Jeet Kune Do on.
Okay.
And one being, how in the process of learning how to use my body can I come to understand myself?
Right. Okay.
In all of its ramifications.
Right.
And things like that. So
yeah.
So you have the martial art industry and what it's built on.
Okay.
And that's built on turnover and dangling the carrot in front so that people, won't quit. We talked about that before. I'm not sure the statistic, but NAPA years ago was like 92 to 94% of people, once they attain a black belt, quit.
Right.
Because they feel they have arrived.
I see.
Now maybe some might go and do another art to get another belt in that.
Right. Or
some's going to go, okay, well, I've done enough of the martial arts. I think I'll go and I'll try windsurfing or, whatever,
Right.
skydiving.
Right.
But there is no finish line.
No.
There's no end point. There is no finish line.
Yeah.
But that's not what is promoted by.
Yeah.
Some people go, well, no, that's they'll put it under the guise of that the black belt's just a starting point.
Right.
But again, I know I've had people and friends that are Well, you get them to sign up for the 2-year program
Yeah.
because that's going to get them to sign up for the 4-year program.
Yes.
Which will get them to sign up for the 6-year
That's right. That's
program.
right. It's upselling. It's
Yeah,
just
yeah, exactly. That's the big term, upselling.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very much.
And I feel like that a lot of these businesses that have adopted these business model practices of like what you're speaking right there, we have to learn to sell better. We have to learn to upsell better. We have to learn to, turn this into a product.
Right.
And, because that's the only way we can sustain as a business, right? So they're taking something that was really never, at least in my opinion, it was never intended to become a product like that, and they've done it. They've actually successfully turned it, and now the public has no idea that there's this process to it that they're not aware of that could completely open their eyes to who they are, how good they are. There's this whole thing. Even though the martial arts industry continues to profess that they are doing all these things for people, when you travel the country like we have, that's not the case.
Right.
And you can tell that they've opened businesses for themselves and not for the student.
Yeah.
And so would you kind of agree on any of that?
Yeah, well, the public's been entrained to think that way. Like you said, because of how it's been done and how they've done in other things and in schools and stuff like that. And that goes back to, especially as it relates to Jeet Kune Do, per se, as an art and a philosophy, that's not designed. Its design does not fit with the industry.
Right.
If you change the art to fit the industry, you've changed the art. And again, now you've torn the heart and soul out of it.
And now you're not actually teaching JK.
You're teaching.
You're teaching the public's version of it, or the or the business side version of it.
Yeah.
And not
exactly
the heart of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think that's a reason why people don't stick with it, because they can feel that it's not genuine anymore?
I think that's a good point, because there's that term, authenticity sells, and authenticity is what will keep you there. And again, authenticity doesn't relate just to when people say authentic JKD. I'm not talking about that. Authenticity relates to yourself, your beliefs, your values, and are you being true to those? That's being authentic. Are you staying in that realm, or are you changing it to fit those other those other people?
Right.
So I think that's a very clear point. It's always about like you said, what do they need? What do they need? Well, we have to give them that because they need that. And you turn around and you say, why? People will talk to you about teaching a class, and sometimes, because I'll teach a class, it's a completely different way. And wait, that's not the way class is taught. The classes are taught, the way class is taught is the teacher goes up, shows something, everybody does it.
Right.
Well, who says that's the only way to, who says, that's the best way to teach a class?
Right.
Who says that's the only way to teach a class? Break the mold, change the teaching method.
Right.
Or do you want to fall into that? Yeah, I'm just going to do that because everybody else does.
Right.
So that's where the change occurs there. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, my other question is, if you could step outside of the martial arts industry bubble and look into it, and identify at least 1, 2, or 3 things that you could see in your experience that could either change or even just stop or start, that would help people get more involved and help people be more inspired to do martial arts. Is there anything that you could see that, imagining yourself, look, I'm gonna float outside of this bubble, and I'm gonna, and now I'm looking down on it, and now I can see things more clearly. Is there anything that, in your opinion, that as an industry we could change or start doing or stop doing that would help people get involved?
Well, it seems so often that now when you look at martial arts, you almost have these 2 extremes.
Yeah.
Kind of like you said, you have the more classical, the belts and the keys. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you have this testosterone-laden slugfest.
Yeah, it's very extreme. It's like one extreme to the other. Yeah.
Any art without a philosophical base is just physical techniques and whatever you want to call it. Okay. So, is there, to me, if I look, what is your philosophical base? Yeah. And again, that's not just all those cute little anecdotes like we
Sure.
were talking about earlier. It's
Yeah.
what is the philosophical base of what you're doing? Which again goes back to, do you use this art to grow, to learn? You know, are you using this art to experience yourself or to punish yourself?
Right.
You
That's
know?
a good way. That's a good question. That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. Why are you doing it? Are you using it as a vehicle to
Right.
come to understand yourself?
Right.
And not everybody's going to do that.
Yeah.
And it's I can relate it to Jeet Kune Do per se, because it's like getting on a train. You know,
Right.
like when people get involved with Jeet Kune Do. Some people get on a train or get into Jeet Kune Do, and they get on the train and they realize as soon as they've got on the train, they're on the wrong train.
Yeah.
So they get off at the very next stop.
Right.
Some people will stay on that train for a period of time, and they'll ride that train until they feel, oh, I either want to go somewhere else, I want to switch trains. And then some people will ride that train all the way through to the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's human nature. Looking from the outside, it's hard because you have all of these other activities.
Mhm.
You know, everybody has to be doing so much
Yeah.
now all of the time.
Yeah.
When I had kids classes, you know, and you taught kids,
Mm-hmm.
you've probably had parents come in and they say, and so you say, well, how often do you train? Well, you know, Monday they have soccer, Tuesday they have wrestling,
Oh, they do every
Wednesday they have piano, Thursday they have lacrosse,
Yeah. Right.
etc. So they have Fridays. I'm sorry, your kid has too much on his plate already
Yeah.
to put what they want to do in there.
Right.
So, you know, maybe people need to just step back from doing so much all of the time.
Yeah.
And
I would definitely agree. I definitely saw that, and when I was a coach, I saw that because
yeah,
you know the parents would come up to me and wonder why their kid
right.
or their child was underperforming, and I would just have a conversation with them about, well, you mentioned to me that they're doing 3 or 4 other sports on top of this, and
Right.
they only come in once or twice a week to see me,
Sure.
but they're going 3 times a week to soccer, and you're wondering why the
Sure.
child's underperforming. And I can be the best coach on the planet, and I can't fix that.
No, because it follows the same idea. You go and you take a guitar lesson for an hour each week, and then you stick that guitar back in the case and you stick it in the closet, and you don't take it out till the next week,
Right.
and then you go do the class again. You may go like that. Now you take that individual who takes that guitar lesson for the 1 hour, and then every day just takes the guitar out for 10 minutes and noodles plays, doesn't even do what they do in the lesson. They're going to see a growth that goes like that.
Okay.
So if you have somebody coming in once a week and then they do nothing else for the entire time,
Yeah.
what do you expect?
Yeah.
I have to look as a teacher. This is something that from the time I got started, it was on my mind
Right.
all of the time. You come in twice a week for lessons and then you leave and you don't do anything regarding this
Right.
for the rest of the time.
Right.
So out of what is that? It's 144, 168 hours in a week, and you spend 2 hours doing it, and 166 hours doing other things and nothing related to that.
That's right.
What do you expect?
Right.
Once a week is even worse because the mind may remember it, but the muscles,
Yeah.
won't
The body's
have
not gonna. Yeah.
they won't have that. Like I said, I put up there. The know-how of action is a result of faithfulness and practice.
Right.
You don't get the result without doing the work.
Well, I'm really glad that you said exactly that, because I've seen programs in schools across the country that are making promises that they can't keep. But the clients don't know it. They're just thinking, oh, well, they said all I have to do is come in once a week and I don't have to carry this over
Sure.
to my daily life. They never even said, and I'm thinking, man, that would be personally, that would be tough for me to live with that as a business owner and an instructor,
Right.
because then I'm going, my name is on their back.
Sure.
And so if they're not able to perform this stuff in and outside of my business, I think I failed. And I don't know. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's a little too.
I think that's too harsh on
that
yourself.
might be too. Yeah.
Because, like I said, you might get an adult or a kid who comes in for 1 hour, but they do a bunch of work on the outside,
Okay.
and you can still see this continual or this
Okay.
steady improvement
Okay.
because they're at least doing something about
I
it.
see.
But like I said, the person, they come in for their lesson and they go la da la da da da.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that doesn't matter if it's a
Yeah.
kid or adult, they do nothing else for the rest of the time. So back to when you were talking about the business side of it, the people telling you to run the business, well, you've got to establish your curriculum based on the average person comes 2 times a week for an hour at a time,
Right.
etc. And that's really easy if you follow the formulaic blueprint of a lot of arts, because I came up through traditional arts,
Right.
and you did.
Yep.
Okay, you go and that everybody does probably half an hour of workout, jumping jacks, all this stuff.
Sure.
And then you go and you do the first form, and then those people who know the next form, they'll do that, and you just keep working on the first form.
Right.
So you can go away and you can come back in 6 months, and they'll be doing exactly the same thing in terms of the forms.
Right.
When you relate to Jeet Kune Do, it's like, when you left, we were doing basic addition and multiplication, and now we're doing algebra or calculus,
Right.
whatever however you want to say it.
Yeah.
So because their school is built on that formulaic
Okay.
blueprint,
Okay.
and whereas JKD, or my attitude towards JKD, isn't built
Right.
upon that. So we get back again. You have to do the work.
I see.
You have to solve it. You have to develop the educated eye and the discerning mind. I cannot give that to you.
I see. Okay.
But that goes back to the business side of it. Something
Okay.
completely
Yeah,
different.
because I've noticed that the business of martial arts is more designed around volume based rather than quality based.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. They're
Yeah,
more
quantity
concerned about
versus
getting butts
quality.
in the seat, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going, well, if that's how we're establishing it here in 2019, imagine when we're in the year 2030, 2040,
Right.
the instructors of that time period are going to have to, even if they even know how to do it, but they're going to be the ones that have to clean up that mess essentially.
Yeah.
Because in this generation, we took the business side of things a little too seriously, more so than the teaching
Right.
side of it. And then, of course, that develops a perception in the public of,
Right.
hey, well, this is how martial arts is.
Right.
When they have no idea that it's not that, it's actually better than that.
Right.
And so, so,
It's really interesting because, like I said, having access to materials. I have Bruce's notes on schools, running a
Okay.
school back, because he was very involved. But this goes back to when he was talking of the idea of having a chain of kung fu schools all across America.
right.
Yes, and it's all about selling. There's all these different notes about who should do it and why.
Okay.
The exclusive Brucey's method, the only kind of its world. Where should they do it?
Right.
At their home, at the school, things of that nature.
Right.
Sell the customer the image they have of themselves, and it all comes from sales books.
It really does.
And then even like the design of the school, there's some diagrams of what the school should look like. And the fact is that in this school, the lighting is done a certain way,
Yeah.
and whether there's plants there, and then that the students get a steam towel, and it's materials he drew from business books at the
Wow.
time.
Yeah.
The little tombstone.
Yeah.
In memory of
Yep.
a once fluid man.
That's right.
Yeah, that actually comes from a book called Profitable Showmanship.
Okay.
And in there, there's a drawing of a tombstone, but it comes from an oil company in Texas. And on this tombstone, it says, "In memory of a once fine automobile ruined by inferior motor oil."
Wow.
And that was it. And then, but right next to it, in pencil, is written, "In memory of a once fluid man, now crammed and distorted by the classical mess."
How about that?
So, he had business books.
Yep.
God, what the hell's the one? The big one, Napoleon Hill.
That's
Think
right.
And Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
He had like
yeah.
4 copies of that.
Wow.
Profitable Showmanship, all this. So he looked at that while he was going that route.
Right.
But like I said, then the things started to change, and he
Sure.
shifted out of that. But that, again, that follows that idea, right?
Right.
The Gracie Academy, if you read the book The Gracie Way, which talks about the whole Gracie Academy, the Gracie Academy in Rio way back, was run like the epitome of a professional martial arts school. They had huge industrial washing machines where every student came in, if they didn't have their own gi, was given a clean gi to wear.
Oh, wow.
For the class. Every student had a membership card with their photo on. They had an ID with their photo on. And every class they took, it was stamped on their attendance card. It was run so much when you read about it back then. But at that time, too, they had a sequence that they would take you through. And they had, every one of them was photos on these boards that you could just, like little flip books.
Right.
That they used. But it was run that way.
Yeah.
Way back.
I see.
Way back.
Okay.